All right, so hi, I am Natalie Guerin, and I'm really excited to have you here today for this training. It's really about the fast track, how to get out of the stuckness that you might be feeling in your business and getting you back on track so that you can get more clients, make more money, and really start creating a life that you love. Because being stuck sucks. I'm going to confuse those two. All right, so if you're wanting out of the stuckness, let me know in the comments in the replay, and let me know why you want out of that stuckness. All right, and what's your number one goal? What would you like to get out of this training? All right, and I have the chat box up, so you can always put in your comments. If you feel like it, you're not obliged to do that. All right, so first things first, let's check if this webinar is right for you. This training is right for you if you're a female entrepreneur, a coach, you're a healer, you're a service-based provider, and you're feeling stuck and you know that you're capable of so much more, right? And I think there is actually something really going on in the industry right now that 99% of people are not actually going past $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year, and even though they're investing, and they're just not making progress. So if you're part of that, you're definitely in the right place. And even if you're just beginning and you don't really know how to get your first clients and you're kind of feeling stuck, you're afraid to speak up to people and you're unclear about what you do and what you offer the world, you're also in the right place, because that's just a different part of being stuck. And the reality is that you can be stuck in the beginning of your business, in the middle of your business, at the end of your business. The process to get unstuck is the same no matter what. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So if this is you, you're definitely in the right place, and I'm super glad to have you here. This training should be about 45 minutes. I do tend to speak quickly, so I'm actually going to try and slow it down today and send everybody some love as I go through this process. And basically what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about how to get out of the pit of darkness and take your power back so that you can get out of the overwhelm, confusion, and even procrastination if that's where you are. And by the pit of darkness, I really mean that, like, when you get stuck, it's like a downward spiral, and you can really go down that pit of, it sucks, and I'm trapped, and nothing's working, and how do you get yourself out of that? That's what we're talking about here. We're also going to talk about my formula for getting into the driver's seat so that you can get back to getting clients and changing the world as fast as possible. And that might actually surprise you. This came from another webinar that I did before, and it was actually an eye-opener for a lot of people, so I can't wait to share it. We're also going to talk about how to break free from the roles and the patterns that keep you stuck and spinning your wheels, because we really don't want that. And we're going to talk about the secret to knowing your next inspired step, right? So that you can take action. You don't have to wait months or even years before you figure out what the right step is. And there is a secret to that. You might actually be surprised to learn what that is as we go forward. So tell me in the comments, where are you stuck in your business? Like, if there was one thing you can get unstuck up on, what would it be, right? Let me know in the comments, because I'm going to actually include that as we go throughout the training. So as we go through, I'm going to give you everything that I can, and I'm going to invite you to stay until the end. It's just going to be about 45 minutes. There is going to be a special opportunity at the end to let you know how you can apply for a free breakthrough session. All right, so Karen says, getting my ideal client and creating my new brand. Absolutely. Like, that's a really big thing. So I'm going to include that as we talk about that, and hopefully speak to that conversation as we go through. So if you stay until the end, I'm going to be offering you a free breakthrough session, and you get to enjoy that as well. All right, so first, though, I want to talk about what is the problem, like what's really going on when you're stuck. Like, what are you struggling with? What are we really talking about? The first problem is that when people are stuck, they're embarrassed and they're exhausted. And most of the time they have invested so much time and energy into it that they don't even want to admit it to anyone, right? And it's almost like they don't really believe in themselves anymore, and they have stopped trusting their intuition. And when that happens, it's like they're so into the pit that they can't move themselves out. It's like an overwhelming sensation that they're failing. And that's just a mindset that will kill anybody from being able to move forward. Even when you have the best of intentions, when you have a heart's desire to change the world, and when you really want to share your gifts with the world. So that's why I'm teaching you how to get out of the pit today. And mostly, the biggest problem out of all of this is that when you're really stuck, it's because of you don't really feel like you're good enough, right? You're not good enough to get all the clients that you want. You're not good enough to get paid, right? Can I really help other people when I don't have all my shit together? And I actually see that a lot from business owners. I see it from coaches. I see it from even graphic designers, for example, right? They're going to ask themselves, like, who am I to charge what I'm worth? And they either undercharge, and maybe sometimes they're even going to wonder, like, do I even have anything worthwhile to say? And that really plays a role in how you show up and your ability to take action consistently, and even going for the things that you truly want, right? And at the end of the day, the most basic problem here is that you don't know the next step that will help you finally break through that ceiling that you've been breaking through. Like you're just spinning. So, which is why in this training, I'm actually going to teach you the next steps that you need to be taken. And no, I'm not teaching you a magic formula. I don't think there is any such thing, but there is a art to actually getting unstuck and getting up to the next level. So that's what I'm going to be teaching you. And we're going to deal with these problems. And here's the reason why I want you to deal with that, right? So I want you to know your worth, right? I want you to know in your being that you have done enough and you don't have to undercharge anymore. And it's actually not something that you have to force. It's just something that you know you are worthy and deserving of getting paid for the services that you do. And Julie says, I undercharge all the time. Absolutely. And it's time to stop that. So when you really deal with these problems and you allow these steps to come through, you're going to find your worth. And it took me years to find it, so I can't wait to share with you how you actually get there. You're going to find your confidence in your voice and share your greatest gifts. Now, I believe that when you find your confidence in your voice and you really allow your truth to come out and you start to own your path, that's when you start to inspire other people. It's also when the money can start to flow into you because you're sharing your greatest gifts, and the universe will support that. All right. And Karen says, you're not alone, Julie. I undercharge all the time too. Absolutely. All right. And I'm going to be and there's also an opportunity here as you learn the process to learn the fastest curvy path to your goals. Now, initially I put the fastest path, but it's really a curvy path because there is no straight line between A and B, but there is a fastest path there. And I call it a curvy path because it's going to be wavy and there's going to be problems and you're going to struggle and you're going to get yourself back up and you're going to keep going, right? And so, and it's a path to whatever it is that you're wanting. So whether or not you want to have more clients, make more money, have a bigger impact, or even take a vacation, that path will work, right? And it's really important to have a path and a way to actually get there, which is what we're talking about. And ultimately, there is an opportunity here to get your sanity back, right? I think people don't really talk about this as entrepreneurs, as coaches, as business owners, especially online. It's really easy to fall prey to the insanity of working all the time, trying to show up, trying to do it all, learning marketing, learning sales. And it's kind of like, it's so overwhelming that it can really kill your energy. And for me personally, I burned out through that process. So I want to help you make sure that you don't burn out, that you get rid of the overwhelm and you get your sanity back in the next 30 days. Does that sound good to you? Yeah, let me know in the comments. All right, so here's an example of someone who had a little bit of an issue with charging. She was undercharging, right? And one day, her name's Rocky, she's a book coach, and one day she decided that she was going to charge premium pricing. And she did it because her coaches were telling her to do it. She also felt like it was the right next thing to do for her. The only problem is that she wasn't selling very much at all. And whenever she was showing up, she felt so much anxiety and she just really didn't believe that she was worth that kind of money, that it didn't come, right? So what we actually ended up doing is showing her how to feel worthy and deserving. And she was already doing the action part, but when we combined the two, she went out and actually quadrupled her income in 4 weeks, right? And all we did was change in her story around that. So that's Rocky. And if it's possible for her, it's possible for you. And by the way, like, I can give you a number, like I can tell you that it's $10,000 months, $20,000 months, $30,000 months, but here's the truth, right? The opportunity is as much as you want it, right? And the truth is that you can probably be earning a lot more money than what you earn right now and having a much bigger impact, and feeling worthy and deserving, that's the opportunity that's in there, because that will affect every aspect of your life, right? There's a saying in all of this that says, you only get what you think you're worthy and deserving, and it's all like what your reality is a reflection of what's internal. And I actually do believe that. It's a little bit harsh because, like, you know, it's like you're working your butt off. You believe you want to grow further, and it's just not happening. But until you find that worthiness and that deserving inside, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much you work. And I had to learn that the hard way. So we're going to teach you what you need to do to feel worthy and deserving as well. So before I get into all the good stuff, I want to just take a moment and introduce myself. That's me. I'm also on this camera. Hello. All right. I live in Montreal, Canada, and I am an intuitive healer and coach. And I help female entrepreneurs find their confidence and voice so that they can speed up their business results while creating a life they love. Okay, I really like saying that. It's kind of weird, right? And I'm also an author and a speaker, which I absolutely love doing. I am the creator of the Goddess Rising Bootcamp. I've written a book called The Promise, and I have an upcoming book, and I'm not really sure of the title yet, but it's going to be called Goddess Rising: 7 Steps to Unstoppable Confidence. And, you know, that's just like the little bio stuff. Here's how I got started, though. When I was 32 years old, I was working in the corporate world. I was in IT. I did project management. And back then, my expertise was really picking up troubled projects that were really stuck and not working, and helping them get out of that and getting them to the finish line so that we could be a success, right? I started owning in these skills. The only problem was that I was bored with life, and I was feeling really unsatisfied. I had traveled around the world. I'd been to 30 plus countries by that point. I had tried every adventure sport under the sun, kayaking, I had skied, I had paraglided, I had all kinds of stuff. And I was just kind of like, what's next? And is this all there is to it? So I went out and I said, okay, what do I do to fix my life, right? We all want to do that. And I said, I'm going to date, right? I'm going to find a boyfriend, because lo and behold, that's what's missing in my life. So I went out and I put up my profile on a website, and a friend of mine actually responded, and I knew him, and I said, okay, I'm going to go on a date with him. And we became friends, and not romantic friends, but kind of romantic in the sense that I didn't know if there was potential there or not. And you take two really depressed people, you put them together, and you get a big mess. But we did become intimate. We did become friends in that respect. And he did get to see me. And unfortunately, he committed suicide. And I remember sitting here and going, what just happened? And I couldn't believe my breath was taken away. And that week I wanted to die. I wanted to like crawl out of my skin. And it was so traumatizing that I couldn't be me anymore. And I made him a promise to find a better way to live my life, because I knew one thing, that if he had done that, I could do that too. I had that potential in me, and I didn't want to let that potential go to waste, which is what started me on a healing journey and a path to really finding a better way to live. And for me, there's so many breakthroughs along the way, but one of the biggest breakthroughs came a few years later when I discovered that I had a nodule on my thyroid, and they removed it. It was the size of a grapefruit, which is pretty big, right? And it's interesting because it turned out to be cancer, which is okay. It's probably the best cancer you can ever have. And they took it out. But what ended up happening is that, one, physically I could actually breathe again, and my spiritual connection opened up, and I found my voice. And all of a sudden I found myself having to say no to people, having to actually have disagreements, to show up in a completely different way. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. It's also how I channeled the book that came to me at that point in time. And it was really the beginning. And that breakthrough of finding my voice and finding my path, owning my path, is really where this all started. And that led me to healing work, that led me to coaching, and it's led me to working with entrepreneurs for the last 3 years to help them manifest, and now really to find their confidence in their voice. And, you know, now I have a bit of a different message, but reality is, for the last 3 years, that's really what I've been helping entrepreneurs do. And it's something that I absolutely love, because I believe that that my mission in life is to help people express their godliness. And here's what I mean by that. So when I wrote the book, it came through me, and it was like the best of me that came forward. And I believe that you have that in you as well. If you're in your business, you have something inside of you that's just waiting to come out. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm doing this training. It's why I do everything that I do. And these steps, they come from a couple of places, right? They come from having 18 years of experience getting projects unstuck. And if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have been helping people, getting people unstuck, I would have said, no way, because that's what I do for a living, right? And these steps come from that, and from having worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs over the last 4 years, and really starting to understand the laws of the universe and understanding the mind and how all that works. And so that's why I can't wait to share it with you. The other thing that you have to know is that I wanted to make it practical. I didn't want it just to make it theory. So one of the big challenges that I have as being me is that I like to give a lot of overall, and I like to be like really high level and leave you kind of hanging. And I wanted to hold nothing back in this webinar. So I went a little bit deeper. Having said that, it's a process, right? And you keep going until you get there. And hopefully my goal is that by the time you leave here, you're going to know what your next step is, which is really what we want, okay? So you ready for the 4 steps to get unstuck and get back on track in your business? Let me know in the comments, how are you making out? Am I speaking too quickly? It's very possible. Woohoo! All right, so Julie is ready. Yay! Awesome, sweet. All right, so step number 1 is to get out of the pit. All right, now here's what I mean by that, right? When you are in your business and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling trapped, things are not working, your funnel isn't working, you don't have an offer, nobody's buying your offer, you don't have any sales conversations, you're stuck in technology, you're overwhelmed, you don't have a clear message, you don't know anything, right? And Karen says, wow, you had me really tuned in with your story. Oh, thank you so much. Woo! Yay! I'm really glad that you liked it. So I'm just gonna go, I tend to do this like a live right now, but we'll see how it happens. So getting out of the pits, well, what happens is you're in your business and it's like overwhelming, and you can get into a place of really low vibration of despair, discouragement, and nobody wants to admit that they're there, right? There's this thing that everybody's like, I should be strong, I should be strong, I really love this business. And reality is you really hate your business, right? You're sacrificing all your time. Everything is hard. Everything is like, it's never going to happen, right? And you're like, where the hell is this going to go? And the more you are in that pit, the harder it is to see a way out, right? And here's the thing, right? When your vibration is stuck in that pit, you can't see a way out, because everywhere you look around, you're feeling lost because it's dark and there is no light, right? And even if there is a light, you start to walk towards it and you fall right back in. And that's has to do with the law of polarity, right? The law of polarity says that you can only see, right? For every desire, there is a path to it. So you have a desire, there is a path to it. That's universal law, because your desire exists out in the universe, but you won't be able to see that path until you actually are in the right vibration. And when you're in the pit, you cannot see anything. Right? In the project management days when I worked with teams and we would get really stuck, and we would go into a room and everybody would be working for hours on end, and managers would come in and scream for a little bit, and like everybody would be really like overwhelmed by that energy. You could feel it in the room, how stuck the energy was. And I would say, okay, everybody up, out, go out for lunch, come back, we'll, I hope we never open the windows because there was no windows, but we'll open the door and we'll let the energy back in. And that's really what getting out of the pit really means. And so how do you do that? There's really 2 steps. The first step is to stop trying to crawl your way out. And I know that sounds counterproductive, right? But just hear me out for a second. It's kind of like you're in this pit, you're crawling out, you're getting more and more exhausted. It's not working. If it works, great, but if you're in there, it's probably not working. So what's happening is that you're falling back and you're just wasting your energy going all the way back up, and you're fighting that energy. So what you actually have to do is make peace with where you are. And that's a really easy thing to do. It could just be, you breathe, take 10 breaths, and then you identify what you're feeling. That's how I do it. I actually do it with writing. right? I'm feeling really stuck. I hate my business. And I just start letting all of the emotions and acknowledging everything that I feel out on paper. And what happens is that creates space, and that allows me to get out of the pit. Because as soon as you acknowledge your emotions and you stop trying to push them down and to push through them, you actually make room for them to go, and you allow yourself to the opportunity for new emotions to come in. It's kind of like that room where I cleared out the energy and new energy would come in, people would come back, and new solutions would come. The vibration had changed. And it's not that I called it vibration back then. I had no clue what that word meant. And if you had used the word vibration, I would have called you crazy, right? So, but that's essentially what's going on when you're getting out of the pit. And so here's an example of someone who really benefited from learning how to get herself out of the pit and staying out of the pit. Sarah is a chiropractor. She has a business in Chicago. And before we started working together, she already had the basic processes for her business. She was on her way, like she was already growing things, but she was having a really hard time being consistent, and her sales were up and down, and she was having a hard time reaching her money goals. And so like the number of people weren't there. And she also realized that there is a process to getting more and more clients, but her vibration was like, it was all over the place. Some days she felt really good. Some days she didn't feel so great. And so what I ended up doing is helping her actually show her how to get out of the pit, how to raise her vibration, and not only in the moment, but consistently. And by the way, that's done with a daily practice, right? Where you go in, you're like, yeah, I'm going to feel better. And that's how you do it. And she actually got her business to 20K months consistently. Now, was it the only thing that she did to get there? No, right? But by managing her vibration, by making sure that her mindset was in the right place, she was able to take action. And at the end of the day, you know what? For her, this was a huge leap of faith, because it's like, it's not business logic, it's mindset, it's something that she had never experienced, right? And it's not even your typical mindset. And she had to take a leap of faith, and she had no idea whether or not this would work for her, and it did. And she's so glad that she did. And personally, she's one of my favorite clients. I think she's absolutely amazing, and look at how gorgeous she is. All right, so that's Sarah's story. So that's step number one, right? Get out of the pit. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know in the comments, and then I'll keep going with step number two. All right, all right, I'm just waiting to see if there's anybody. All right, makes a lot of sense, Karen says. Yes, awesome, sweet. All right, and I'm super glad that that's the case, because I'm trying something new with this webinar, not trying to go with slides and just talking and being more myself. So I'm glad that makes a lot more sense. So step number two is to get into the driver's seat. So here's the deal, right? And I've seen this with projects. I've seen this with people. When people are stuck, it's because they're no longer in the driver's seat. And here's what I mean by that. When you're in the driver's seat and you're in control, you know where you're going, you have decided to go, your foot's on the gas, and you're going somewhere you actually want to go. Most people are not there, right? For entrepreneurs that have been at their business for a little while and they've tried a whole bunch of things, they're probably most definitely not there, because you've been on this autopilot thing, and either you're going somewhere that you don't really want. I see a lot of people, yeah, Karen says, nope, not there. Absolutely, right? Totally get that, and you're not alone. So sometimes what happens is people get into the driver's seat and they say, well, I'm going to manifest 10K months, and they work and work and work and work and work, and then it doesn't work, right? And they get frustrated, and all of a sudden they're still working towards that goal, and they hate that goal. And the problem with that is that it's like being in a car going around in circle. You're going to waste a lot of energy. It's going to cost you a lot of money and a time and effort. And the trick here is that you actually have to get yourself back into the driver's seat. And that means taking 100% responsibility for everything that you create and have created. By the way, forgive yourself. It's okay. You're not there. Like, you know, you don't want to go back to the pit, but forgive yourself for where you are and take responsibility to create something new in your life. And the way you do this is by reconnecting with your heart's desire and your big picture. You know, you could do it for specific goals, and you don't always have to go with your big heart's desire and your big picture, but it's really important to reconnect with what's in your heart and why are you doing this in the first place. Because here's the thing, building a business is, I'm going to use the word freaking, I can say that, freaking hard, right? It's probably the hardest thing that you will ever do in your life. And there's going to be challenges along the way. There's going to be fears. There's going to be doubts. It's going to pull your mindset apart. If you've never had a business before, it's going to stretch you in ways that you'd never imagine. And unless you're really clear on your why and your big picture, and you're going to have a struggle getting there. So for me in my own life, when I was in my last year of business, like my third year, which was last year, like second year kind of thing, I got really unclear. I'm like, do I really want this? Do I hate this? Do I quit? Do I keep going? And really, I had to just sit down and reconnect with what is my vision. Why do I want this? I also had to let a lot of stuff go and get myself back into the driver's seat. Like, I don't want this. I don't want that. This is what I want. And I'm going to go for that. And I'm going to do it my way. And that's part of getting into the driver's seat. And the other aspect to this is that you have to choose what it is that you're wanting. Most people don't, right? And you have to commit. So I'll give you an example. So the other day I worked with someone over the phone and she's like, okay, I'm going to pick my next project, because she didn't want to pick anything. She wasn't in the driver's seat. She's like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what offer to create or what to provide my customers. And that's just you not being in the driver's seat, right? And we'll talk about what the right next step is. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit for the next 3 months. And I think that's a really great place to start. But the reality is, if your goal is so important that you need to share your message, if you need to share your gifts, if you really want to grow your business, if you never want to go back to corporate, it's not about the amount of time. It's about knowing that you are so committed that you're going to figure this out. So there is no failure. Everything is, and there is no sacrifice, because it's just a choice on the process of getting you to that point. And your job is to be in the driver's seat and to keep going and doing whatever it takes to make that happen. So if you have to go out to get a job to actually make that happen, that's what you have to do. It's as simple as that. Right. So you have to commit. And most people commit at 100%. They're not there. Right. Like, how committed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Some people will say 8, and it's because, well, I don't want to commit. And so I actually know that I'm not going to fall flat on my face, or I'm going to pick the wrong thing. Right. So they don't want to make a mistake. So they don't really commit. And here's the truth. You're going to make mistakes. Right. All right. So here's what Karen says. This is kind of where I am. Don't know what to offer. Plus, as of today, dealing with an empty home. Daughter left for New York City today. Ooh, or NC. I'm assuming that's, I don't know what NC is. So it's a process of going back to that process and getting back into the driver's seat and going, what is it that you're wanting? What is your vision? And Karen, I know that I don't expect you to get all of this in a minute, which is why I'm going to offer you a free consultation at the end. All right, so I hope this makes sense. All right, and here's an example of someone who was kind of in the driver's seat of her life, or so she thought. She had built vision board after vision board for years, for 8 years by the time she came to me. And she was stuck in Barcelona. She was stuck with her family situation. She was a serial entrepreneur, and she felt really trapped, and she also felt like she wasn't really moving forward. And what I did with her is I helped her find her voice and express her truth. I helped her get into the driver's seat so that she could claim what she actually desired and go after them. Now she works as a chef. She's doing all kinds of different businesses, and she's living all over the world. And that's because she got into the driver's seat and she decided what she wanted for herself. Make sense? And by the way, Karen, if it's possible for Sarah, it's possible for you, right? North Carolina. Yeah, so we think, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because I had no idea. All right, and step 3, which is my favorite and probably the most esoteric for you, it's to become the goddess rising. Now, who is the goddess rising? She's the woman who owns her path, right? And when you own your path, you have the freedom to be yourself in everything that you are. That is the goddess rising. You know, she's the entrepreneur who expresses her truth and owns her path, even when there's a possibility of rejection or disappointing other people. And, you know, we spend so much time trying to manage everyone else's expectations of us. And it's almost like we're watching other people watch us so that we react accordingly. And that's not freedom. And most of the time where people are really stuck in business is that they're trying to make sure that they don't disappoint anybody else, that they're trying to say the right thing. They're trying to do the right package. And it keeps them in this place of, what if they think I'm crazy? Like, I know I need to speak to these people, but what if they think I'm crazy? And I'm going to tell you the big secret here is, so what? Can you repeat after me? So what, right? Karen says, oh my God, yes, exactly. The goddess rising is the woman who makes mistakes, right? There is no such thing as not making any mistake, right? And at the end of the day, she knows that she's so committed that a mistake is just a step on the way to success. I think the light bulb person, I think it's Edison, who came up with 1,000 light bulbs. Like, he had so many failures before he had one that worked. That's commitment, right? It doesn't matter if it's 3 months or 6 months or 8 months. If you're committed to something, you're going to make it happen. Now, we are going to talk about the money piece, like if you're wanting money in a short amount of time and what you have to do with that. Becoming the goddess rising also means finding and releasing the patterns that hold you back. So here's the thing, right? So ever since you were little, you have beliefs and things that you've picked up to be loved, to be accepted. You became a certain way. And patterns are automatic behaviors. They're things that you do automatically. So for example, it could be that when you start something and you start to feel like you're disappointing someone else, you hold yourself back and you don't speak up. And in your business, that could show up as you're afraid, so you don't ask for the sale. So you constantly do that circle, right? Or it could also be that you're afraid to be too successful, because then you'll have to leave your family. Like, there's different rules and patterns that you have. And what's happening is that all of that plays in how you play your business out, right? And action. And so you think about automatic for a minute. Have you ever driven home and, not remember driving there? You just got there. It's because your subconscious got you there. And it's doing that all the time with your programming that you got from your childhood. Now, I also believe that you get it from your DNA, you get it from the environment, and you get it from, your soul from the time that you were born. That, as a healer, that's what I believe. And I see that all the time. But releasing yourself from those patterns is the best way to go. And the way to do that is to really start with shame and guilt. It's to let go of the I am broken and really replace it with I'm whole, I am loved. And by the way, these feelings, when you really get them, they come from inside out. You don't need other people's validation anymore. You validate yourself. I think older people validate themselves, like when they get to like 70 or above, like they start to just validate themselves, but you can get there earlier, which is really what we want to do. Right? The goddess rising doesn't try to do it all alone, right? I can't tell you how often I come across a healer or coach or business owner is like, yeah, I'm trying to do it all. Well, one, that is like really too much. And then I come across mindset coaches and are like, yeah, I'm dealing with my own mindset. I'll get a business coach and then I won't get a mindset person. And that's absolutely crazy because you can't deal your mindset alone. You could do it. No offense. Yeah, you could do it, but it'll take you a really long time and you'll get stuck in your own shit. And so a goddess rising surrounds herself with a team to support her. And I'm not saying go out and spend like, $30,000 on a coach or something, but I am saying you find the right people to support you. And that's not just in your business, that's in your life, that's in your friends, that's in your spouse, your relationships. And you allow yourself the opportunity to really be the goddess rising. And the goddess rising thrives in a tribe where you can be yourself and the other women can be there. And that is my dream, by the way, is to see these amazing goddesses step up and be part of this amazing tribe. Make sense to you guys so far? Okay. All right. So why do you want to become the goddess rising? Because what you're creating in your life is a direct reflection of your belief systems, right? Which are keeping you on autopilot. Beliefs create your feelings, which create vibration, which keeps you stuck, right? And you can't even see the solutions in the path to what you want because you're in the wrong vibration. It's like wearing green colored glasses and you need to be wearing pink colored glasses. So we need to tweak that. And I'm not saying to you that this is like easy. It is a process. So for example, in terms of beliefs, right? And these are some things that have kept me stuck. They've kept my clients stuck. And marketing doesn't work for me. Well, right? Nobody will pay me that. There's no one in my town that actually wants what I have to offer. And I'm looking around and I have my pussycat in the back of the computer. He's saying hello. All right. So there's all kinds of things. What is your favorite thing that's going on in your head, right? There's some kind of pattern. And it could also be, I'm not good enough. I am not lovable. And usually those are the real core stuff. The other stuff is all superficial and there's always layers deeper. And it's a continuous process. You're always in the process of becoming more of who you are. And that greatness is always coming through you. It's not like you do it one day and then you don't have to do it at all tomorrow, right? Your daughter is leaving, Karen. So I'm sure there's something in your life that is like, now been waiting to come out, and it's time for it to come out. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. And I don't believe in coincidences. So let's say, for example, and I wanted to make a practical example of what this would mean if you wanted to generate 5,000 in the next 30 days. Because I know a lot of people are actually wanting to create more money, get more clients. Does this process actually apply? So it would actually be reconnecting with your heart's desire. Why do you want it? And you have to make sure that you don't come from a place of scarcity. And you have to just connect to the why and go deeper into the why, right? Because you might very well be in need of that $5,000, but it's about connecting to why do you want it, and how will it support you? How will it support your dream? How does it support everybody else? And when you can connect into that energy, you can come from a place of abundance and from a place of being a goddess rising. And if you could generate that, right? If you were to be like, okay, I'm going to generate that this month, who is the goddess rising? What would you believe, right? How would you act? What would you do? And it's allowing you to become that person. Like, and it's not that you're going to believe it all tomorrow, but it is a process. So if you get really clear on what you need to believe, it's going to be much easier. So for example, I was having a really hard time with my sales conversations. Like and that's gone up and down for me. And one day I'm like, okay, what would I actually say to myself if I had absolute value and worth, and how would I actually say it? And it's interesting because in that session that day, I went, this is the price. And I actually felt it and I owned it and I knew the value. There's a little bit more to that in terms of value. You got to release the shame and the guilt, and you got to really see the value in your offer as well, which we'll talk about when we get into the practical states. And by the way, me getting that kind of clarity and really stepping into the goddess and that knowing is what allowed me to make my first $20,000 sale. And it took 4 days. One night I was like, okay, I want to do this. And it was instant manifestation. And I'm sharing that with you not to brag, but to tell you what's possible. And it's not always that easy because your mindset is not always there. It's like you have 1 foot into the goddess and 1 foot into the you and the little girl. And it's like, how do you really thrive? And it's a process of evolution. My objective when I started to do this goddess work was really to get into the place where I was whole. And I had moments before that where I felt really whole, like on top of the world. But how did I really didn't feel that all the time. And I wanted to find a place where I felt worthy and deserving and lovable. And I found that place. And that's how I really started to own my path and my voice. And that's what I really want for you as well. And the more you can be in that place, the more you can manifest your dreams. And by the way, if you don't make that 5K in 30 days, you're 100% committed. You just keep going and you don't stop until you make it happen. All right. So here's an example of someone that kind of started to really rise her goddess when we worked together. Her name is Jen. She is a relationship coach. I absolutely adore her. She was already getting clients when we started working together. She wasn't charging very much. The number of discovery calls were down. Like everything wasn't really working for her. She had a webinar funnel that wasn't working. Like the whole thing, it was kind of falling apart. And really, she just lacked the confidence and she lacked her voice and she wasn't really showing up because of it. So I helped her find that confidence in her voice. She quadrupled her rates, right, on her premium offer without changing it. She sold it and she started to put out offers more regularly. And she found a process and a way of working that really worked for her. She also started showing up on social media and stopped being so afraid of that. Now, here's the thing, right? It's always going to be up to you. But if you're going to play small, if you're going to hold back and you can't show up, you need to heal that and really start to bring up your goddess rising and all of that. Okay. And so far we've talked about, getting out of the pit. We talked about getting into the driver's seat, right? Karen says, lives terrify me. And here's the truth. You don't have to do lives, but you should at least do a few to get over the terror. right? So some people will say, do the mindset work and, until you feel really comfortable. But reality is a lot of this stuff is just really scary, and it's only scary the first time that you do it. Lives for me are scary the first time, the second time, the third time, and pretty much every time since. This is different because I have a webinar slide going on there, and I can actually see myself on camera. But I'm always like, am I saying the right thing? Is anybody listening? And blah, 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 right? So you just be yourself. And, until you've tried it at least 3 times, you don't know if it's the right strategy for you or not. So step number 4 is actually where we put it all together, because it does have to hold together, right? Like right now we haven't taken action. And so I wanted to give you something tangible. And step number 4 is to take inspired action. Now, usually when I talk about this, and when I've talked about this in the past, it's been like really high level. You want to come up with ideas, you want to do this. But I wanted to give you more of my own strategy and how do I actually deal with problems when they do come up, because that's what I've done for the last 20 years. And it's what I do with clients. But before I go there, there's some things that you need to know, right? Inspired action is any action that feels good, right? And that comes from a place of choice. If it comes from a place of, I have to do it, release that obligation and decide if you really want it. Here's the problem. A lot of people think of inspired action as this download, right? They're meditating and they're going to receive this download. And that can happen, but most of the time, it's not necessarily going to happen that way. And the universe is giving you an idea, and it's in your path for a reason. It's up to you to choose to act on it. And most inspired action goes unanswered, right? Sometimes it's, I feel like I have to call someone, and you don't really think it makes sense, so you don't act on it. And it's learning to trust that instinct that whatever you're receiving, that you act on. Doesn't mean that you have to act on it all today, but you make a list of it and you start taking that action, magic is going to happen. Right? You don't want to start to, and most people are discounting all action. So for me, when I say inspired action, I mean any and all action, anything that you can do to move yourself towards your goal. But you don't want to do that from a place of feeling low vibration, or you need to feel yourself in a really good place, and you need to start letting your inner goddess rise. Because here's the truth of it all, right? No action means no results. And you could be at home and you could manifest $24,000. And people misunderstand that. You ask the universe, you receive it. Could it happen? Absolutely, right? Somebody could buy you a lottery ticket and blah, 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 right? It could happen, but your chances dramatically go up when you start to actually play the game. And here's what I believe. We're human. We're here to play, right? We're spiritual beings in the human body, and we're here to play and have some fun. So you might as well take action and take part of it. And, so in order to keep your sanity in all of this, you have to act like an explorer. When Christopher Columbus set out and he went out on his journey, to find a route to Southeast Asia, and he found North America instead, and he found the Bahamas, he didn't go out going, I didn't find it, I'm going to kill myself because I didn't get to where I wanted to go. He found a new world. And that is what's happening when you're creating your business. That is what's happening when you're creating your life and you're going after a dream that you don't even know if it's there, right? But you're going on faith that you're going to find something. And treat it like that. Treat it as an explorer. So when you do a funnel, when you try a Facebook Live, when you do email marketing, when you try all sorts of stuff and it's not working, it's okay, because doors are opening it. You found something else. And being able to bring yourself back into that place of, I found this instead, or there's a new opportunity. And keeping your focus on that is actually going to make it a whole lot easier. So be an explorer. So I have the fast track strategy. I came up with this today, but this is what I've essentially been doing for years. And it doesn't matter if I do it with my clients or if I've been doing it with projects, this is how it works. So basically it starts with making sure that you have your big picture vision. Where is it that you're shooting for? And, depending on where you've been or how clear that is for you, you're going to spend a little bit more time there. Then you want to get specific on the goals, and you want to make sure that you're committed to them. What is it that you're wanting to create? Do you want to have a business? Do you want to have $5,000 months, $10,000 months, $100,000 years? And it's really important to get really specific about what you want and why you want it. A lot of people will just say more money. Well, that's not a goal. That's you want $10 more a year, or you want 100,000. And here's the trick here, guys. If you pick a strategy, you also need to make sure that it's aligned with your goals, right? Because that's the next step. I see so many people saying they want to make $100,000 a year, and they're charging by the hour. It just doesn't work. You know, you could be working 40 hours a week at 20 hours a week, let's say, $100, 50 weeks a year. So you get 2 weeks off. You still have your marketing time. You still have to do your social media. You still have to do everything else in your business. You're going to be kaput, right? You're not going to be able to do this. So you need to pick goals that you want, and then you need to pick a strategy that goes with that. And usually that's premium offer. Now, I've also seen people going with group membership sites. I've seen people do live workshops. I've seen all sorts of stuff, but you need to make sure that those two are aligned. And if you decide that, you know, you just want to work from home once in a while and you don't want to have the whole business, then maybe going out and getting a job is better. Now, one of the things I heard when I started my business, and I actually really do believe that if you're only going to target like 100,000 in your business and that's all you want, that's great, but you could probably go get a job and make your whole life a whole lot easier by doing that. So for me, that's why I have bigger money goals, right? So once you pick the strategy and you know where you're going, you need to go into that direction. Now, here's the truth. You want to know the big magic secret to picking the right next step? There is no magic secret. You just pick what feels right in this moment and you go for it. And you put yourself out there and you go and you ask for the sale and you see what the heck is happening, right? Too often what I see is people trying to figure out the right next step. They get stuck in perfectionism, so they don't take action. Aaron says, is this recording to be available afterwards? My phone died and I missed some. Absolutely. Woohoo! Aaron just asked me for a recording. That is awesome. Thank you. Yes, I will be sending it out as long as you're on the email list, which I totally realized we had some tech issues. All right, so so you want to review, pick a strategy, then you want to stop the bleeding, right? And you want to do this quickly, right? Like you don't want to spend days and days doing this. What I mean by stop the bleeding is what are the things that you're doing that are contributing to your problem? So I see a lot of times people saying, yes, I want to charge $3,000 packages, but they're actually going into a sales conversation and charging like $75 an hour. And I'm like, guys, right? You're going to have to make a choice and we have to stop that bleeding. And sometimes it's enough to just make that choice and say, I'm not doing that anymore. And sometimes you're going to have to become the goddess rising and do some mindset work to get yourself there. Okay, but basically if you're doing anything like working 24 hours a day and you're not going in the right direction, you know what, just stop the bleeding, right? Like stop working 24 hours a day, start putting in some boundaries, start putting in some me time, right? And then you want to take inspired action on that strategy that you built. And you know, at the end of the day, you know what, you're going to fall flat on your face, you're going to get it wrong, but it's going to get you to the next level. And if you really 100% committed, you're going to figure out that right next step. And I have no doubt that you have the ability and the power to get yourself into the right direction, because there is a law of polarity and your desires exist because they exist out in the physical world. And your only job is to take that next step, but you can't do that if you're in the wrong vibration. So here are some of the check things that I want you to keep in mind as you go through this fast track strategy is, are your goals believable, right? So I don't want you to pick like, you know, I'm going to manifest $1 million this year or $100 million when you've never had any, because for you, that's not going to be believable. Even if your mind goes, well, I could do this, I could do that. And it might be, right? Like, but you want to keep it so that your heart feels good to you in your heart, and you don't go, oh yeah, it's impossible. Because if you go, it's impossible, it will be impossible, because that'll be the vibration that you send out. And then you have to ask yourself, is the strategy viable to do what you want to do in the time frame that you want it? So say, for example, that you're wanting to create a course, right? I see that a lot, right? And they're like, okay, I'm going to make $1,000. Now you have to come up with a $97 program. You have to sell 100. So there is a process to that. Is it totally doable? Absolutely. Can it be done in 30 days? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on your experience. There's so many variables in there. If you really wanted to come up with $1,000, it would be better to just sell one package to one person. And reality is you have to be picking a strategy that's in alignment. And when it comes to sales and business, there's really like a couple of things that you need to know. One is it's the fast cash, right? So you have an offer, you make the sale. And then there is the consistency, which is you have to generate leads and get your message out into the world. And then you have to get yourself to the point where you're engaging them, you're enrolling them, and you have that continuous path, right? You're not constantly recreating content. I know some people love that. I think I've done that personally, and I think it sucks, right? And if you keep selling the same different stuff to the same people, eventually you burn your list out, so it doesn't work. So second piece here, once you know that your goals are believable and your strategy is good, you need to make sure that the strategy is something that you want to do, right? And this is where I get a little bit like, right? Like, I actually don't believe that there's anything that you have to do. So if you don't want to do webinars, don't do webinars. If you don't want to do lives, don't do lives. But you do have to get yourself out there. So I'm kind of like a little bit wary. Offers are the same, right? People say, if you don't want to do like $5,000 offers, don't do them. I actually almost killed my business because I took my pricing to $5,000 offers like a while ago. And because my coaches were like, yeah, you're worth it, right? It just didn't feel good to me. And I actually ended up selling over like 200 packages or little things like under $200. So there's different options, and the strategy has to fit good to you, and it has to fit in with the bigger picture as well. So if it's going to keep you working 24 hours a day, it's not a good strategy, guys, right? So you need to realign, but you also need to make sure that this is something you want to do. And sometimes you're going to have to work through the fears before you can pick your strategy. All right, number 3, don't let the tech overwhelm you. All right, I had some tech issues today. For some reason, the integration between ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign stopped working. And I could have freaked out. I could have gotten stuck there, and literally, like, something is stuck between those two. And so I fixed it. I did my best, and so we need to make sure that you don't let the tech overwhelm you, and that might mean that you might get some help, but there's no reason why you can't get through it. And here's the truth on this, right? Oh, you did awesome at handling the tech issue today. I hope that everybody agrees with that. There's like 20 people who probably got an email that shouldn't have, right? So you can't freak out with that stuff. And I have a tech background, so I come from the IT world, and I come from project management, but I also have like programming experience, and technology isn't something that's really hard for me, but I still get overwhelmed by it. I still freak out. So I can't imagine what it's like for the other 95% of people who, their technology is their phone. So don't get overwhelmed, get some help. And your best friend is number 5, right? If you don't know how to do something, Google it. And you don't have to waste hours and hours doing technology. Just hire the workout. And honestly, I know that that's a hard decision, especially when you have only so many funds. So you have to pick and choose. But if you're going to spend 100 hours doing something, it's not worth it when it's going to cost you $100 to get it done. Your time is worth money. 4, do what scares you, right? Right. And even when you think that people are going to think you're weird, or you're going to be judged, and because at the end of the day, that's the stuff that you need to be doing. Right? The stuff that makes you uncomfortable, you're going to grow. Some people say, well, don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable. That's kind of true, but there's also a truth in the reality is that this is so big and so new that you're going to get uncomfortable. I'm just going to move this window so I can see what I'm saying. All right. And then ultimately, you also want to be the goddess rising. All right. And so as you go through this process, and remember, that's a process of becoming. It's not like we go through these steps and that's it, right? Like, it's a process of becoming. And then you have to adjust, adapt, and keep going. No matter what, you just keep going. I once asked a very stupid question. Can anybody guess what that question was? And just let me know in the comments. So on my very, very first coaching call with one of my $35,000 coaches, it was like a crazy thing at the time, I sat down and I said, how do you know when you've taken enough action? And I was so serious, right? And I was like, I was scared of doing too much. I was scared of of killing my energy, killing the vibration. And she responded, when you're done. So you just got to adjust, adapt, and keep going. And I thought, well, yeah, that was a stupid question. But sometimes we overthink things. And for me, that's one of my biggest challenges. And that's just part of who I am. That's part of my goddess, right? I like to think. I overthink things. I overanalyze. Make sense? Does this fast track strategy help you out? All right. Karen says, me too. Let me know if it helps you out, if it makes sense. Do you guys have any questions? All right. Let me see. All right. So I wanted to talk about fast money. So money has a totally different vibration. So if you're going for something longer, money will screw you up for so many different reasons. Your focus shouldn't be entirely money, but sometimes it's going to have to be. You want to go for low-hanging fruits. You want to make sure that you have a strategy that is the fastest path to money, right? You know, writing a book, getting a book out, getting on stages, that's a longer process than just saying, okay, I'm going to go out, create an offer, go out, you know, pitch it to 5 people. And it's not just about pitching, it's about finding the right, how do I want to say this? Building the relationships and finding where there's a good match. And it's not about pitching, it's about enrolling someone into your vision. And that's where you go from there. Make sense, guys? And if you're too focused on money, all right, what will happen is you will kill your vibration. I had a really hard time with the first 2.5 years, I would say, of my business, where money was my entire focus. I actually stopped talking about money in my business. I stopped talking about it with my clients. I stopped trying to help my clients with money, even though I help them with money all the time and help them release the resistance to it and get them back on track. I stopped making it my main focus. And what's happened is I've actually fallen back in love with my business. I've fallen back in love with what I want to do and why I'm really here. And the money is something I thought I had to do for everyone else. And the reality is what I want to do is Goddess Rising. I want to help you rise so that you can share your gifts with the world, so you can make money doing what you love and you can have a bigger impact. And I really ultimately, I want you to live. I really want you to live. And because it's not a life to just sit behind your computer 24 hours a day. There's so much more for you out there. Okay, so here's another testimonial, and it's really a case study from a friend of mine. Was my very first client. Her name's Kellyanne, and no, that is not a picture of her. I just didn't have a picture of her. I did email her today and asked her for it. She's a music therapist. She has a local business. And when I first met her at a networking event, and we met for like 90 seconds, she was overwhelmed and she thought that she was never going to have any money again. She was so broke. She couldn't see a way out. She had so much cool debt. And she was kind of calculating and doing the math of how much she could make in her business. And it was kind of like, I'm never going to have a life again. I'm never going to have training again. And so I actually helped her get unstuck, and we took her through that process. And what ended up doing is she ended up taking her power back. And she also followed through with inspired action. One of the things that came out of that first session was go talk to an accountant. And usually I'm not very, I'll tell people things when I receive things from downloads and for her, I kept seeing an accountant. I'm like, you should really go talk to an accountant. And that actually is what opened the door for her to fix her money issues. And she actually had a lot less money issues than she actually thought. And so just the fear of dealing with it actually was keeping her stuck. So when she got out of that, she got unstuck and was able to take action. And she found her complete financial footing, and within like 2 months, it was absolutely amazing. And like she found the money to pay for a trip, for an expensive training, which she was really adamant about that she was never going to go on, right? And she found a new apartment. She was basically up-leveling her life. And that's really an example of what's possible when you start to get yourself unstuck and you go up to the next level. All right, so you're probably thinking, Natalie, do you really expect me to get unstuck and become the Goddess Rising in 45 minutes? Anybody thinking that? Let me know in the comments. All right. Hopefully anybody is, right? I'm curious. So yes, no, you're not thinking that. So what are you thinking, Karen? Just out of curiosity. I need more work. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what does that mean? I need more work. I'm just going to check it out. And Julie, if you're still on, I'd be curious to know, right? So I need more work sounds like you're pushing through it. So what we're really wanting to do here is to get you unstuck and become the Goddess Rising. And I don't expect you to get all of these concepts in 45 minutes. Like I'm giving you the big lines and what you have to do, but that's just information, and it's just information until you do something with it. She says, I need to get out from behind my blocks. Absolutely. And that's what I want to help you do. Right? Along with taking action, along with finding your voice and finding your confidence. So I want to invite you, and Karen, I would love for you to join me for a free 45-minute coaching session. I call these the Goddess Rising Breakthrough Calls. I love them. I really love doing them. I think they're absolutely amazing. And it's really great to see clients that are coming through that and they're leaving with ideas of what to do next. And they come out and they actually implement, right? They come out and they go, yes, I'm going to actually pick something, or I'm going to create an offer and I'm actually going to pitch it, right? So it happened to someone the other day and I was so thrilled for her. So it is a free consultation. It is free, not for everyone, because my time is limited. It's for you if you're an entrepreneur, a coach, you're a healer, a speaker, a small business owner. I didn't put everybody down here. If you're a service-based provider, it is for you. If you're wanting to change the world and get paid to do what you love, it's for you. And it's also for you if you want to grow your business to 6 figures. And the reason I say that is that if you are just interested in like building your business to like 30, 35,000, and that's it, and you're not really interested in going deeper than that, I'm not sure necessarily that clearing all your blocks is going to really be there. If you're interested in creating potential and taking your business to the next level, then you're definitely in the right place. And if you're needing help because you're stuck, then this training is right for you. So are you guys interested in this session? Just lift your hand up if you are. So one of the things that happens is people go, well, am I going to try to sell you something on it? Here's the way it works, right? We are going to figure out your vision, get you clear on that, figure out what your biggest priorities are over the next 12 months. And we're going to see if there's what's holding you back, what are the blocks, what are the mindset blocks, what are the things that you're not doing. And then we're going to create a plan. And if our visions match up and I can help you, right, and you're a good fit for Goddess Rising, I may very well invite you into the program this year. That's it. Right? And if it's not, that's okay too. You leave with an action plan. You leave with clarity moving forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to come and join me. You can do that at www.natalieguerin.com/apply. And all you have to do is go there, click it. There's a form that you need to fill out. And once you fill out that form, you're going to go to an appointment book, and you just pick an appointment on my calendar, and we meet for 45 minutes. That's it. That's all it is. All right. So we have come to the Q&A portion of this call. So I'm curious if there's any Q&As. Go ahead and put them in the comments if there are. And we'll go from there. I don't know who's on still, but we'll go from there. There's a few people on, so I'm going to say hello to Erin, Julie, and Karen. Do you guys have any questions? If there isn't, that's okay too, right? I don't have a problem with that. Just let me know. And how did you enjoy the training? Was it valuable to you? All right. Erin might have something to say. All right. I so love this. Loved it. So I hope you join me for a session, Karen. And Julie, we've already had one. Loved it. Thank you. And Erin, if you're feeling up to it, I know you're on mobile. So if you're going to receive the link in the email in a little bit. And I will apply after this. Woohoo! Awesome. So www.natalieguerin.com/apply, and I will send you the link in the email in a couple of hours, but you can fill it up right now, and I will see you soon, ladies. Thank you so much for being on. All right, take care.